Welcome to Creating Disney Magic with Lee Cockerell, lessons in leadership, management, and customer service. You can create magic too. I'm your host, Jody Mayberry, and this episode we're returning to listener questions. Lee loves it when you send in a question or a topic. So you can do that at support@cockerellacademy.com or just reach out to either one of us and give us a question. All right, Lee, this question relates to feelings and emotions in the workplace. It's a two-part question from Eric. He said, first, how do you park your emotions when stuff happens and you feel yourself or even your employees' tempers starting to rise?
Yeah, that's a good question, and we've talked about that a lot over the years. And talking about, I would say today, I think about this as just make sure you understand that every day you are going to have obstacles in your life. The first one's getting out of bed, and the second one is traffic, and the third one is whatever. And they're going to happen every day. You're going to have a lot of them. Some are going to be more emotional than others. And I think you've got to really convince yourself and understand and think deeply about that. When an obstacle happens in your life, you're going to stay cool, calm, and collected. You're not going to react and keep telling yourself, I'm not going to react. And often you can anticipate, you've sent out a note about some new way we're going to do something, and somebody's going to come in and yell and scream at you. Just don't do it. Just stay cool and calm, because literally when you get emotional and start arguing, you always lose. I mean, both the people arguing don't make sense anymore. They start saying things that aren't even right or true, and you're not thinking straight, and because that blood rushes up your brain and you can't think straight. But I would say, just for me, I have really worked on myself of knowing they're going to happen today. I know every morning when I get up, I say, okay, I'm going to have obstacles all day long. Some are going to be okay, no big deal. Some are going to be harder. And when they happen, I'm just going to stay cool and calm, and I'm not going to overreact. And nobody's ever going to say I spoke to Lee and he got all upset and started yelling. And I think we need to think about doing that with our children too when they're little. Of just let it, don't overreact about something. And I think in your life, you have to think about what your weaknesses are. And if one of them is overreacting or saying inappropriate things, you got to think about that every morning. Okay, Lee, behave today. Don't say it. Pay attention to the staff. Don't be looking at your phone when you're walking around your operation, so you bypass people and don't see them. Uh, People get emotional because they just don't know what to do. They don't feel like they're getting something resolved, so they think if they raise their voice and yell and get emotional and drive it up, that they can get more attention. In fact, I would say when you start to raise your voice and get angry, you get less done because somehow it never gets resolved. And unless we say, okay, guys, let's stop. Sometimes there's somebody that said, okay, let's just calm down here and let's get back to the point. Because when you get angry and get emotional, sometimes you end up you're talking about something else and too that you don't even know how you got there. It's when everybody says yes, but you're talking about the laundry, and next thing you know, yeah, but what about when that what about? And so you want to stay calm, focused, and just keep bringing people back to the subject that it started with. I think you have to say that sometimes. Let's get back to figuring out how to solve this issue. I know we're all emotional. I know we're upset. I know we don't like this. It's happened before, but all we are here for is to make it better, and we got to fix it. We got to work on it. And as a leader, you've got to. It'll happen. But I think you've got to make sure you're not letting it happen, because if you're a leader, it's going to be people witnessing it are going to go around and tell everybody else that you're unreasonable and you're an idiot, and all the bad things they're going to say about you, because they're going to say you're unprofessional. I can't believe what he said. So you don't want to give people any ammunition to use against you, because when you're the leader, everybody has got something on you that they're not happy about, and you've got to be known as somebody who's cool, calm, and professional, and that's how you do it. And in a crisis, you keep your cool, keep your calm, because that's what you have to do to keep the audience calm. And so I would think that is it, is talking to yourself more and analyzing what are the triggers. You know, you can think of what are the kind of things that are going to trigger me to be really mad, and go ahead and think about those. And then when they keep thinking about them all the time, talking to yourself about them. So when they happen, you know, it could be with your kids. You know, if he does that again, you say, no, I'm gonna approach, we're gonna sit down and talk. We're not gonna, no voices raised. We're not gonna intimidate anybody, because when you intimidate people, you'll never get the truth. They'll clam up for sure. And so, yeah, that's kind of how you have to think about it. You stay cool, even though you want to slap somebody, don't do it. And you contain your emotions. Literally, that's what you do. You contain them. Take a deep breath and or say, excuse me, I got to go walk around the block, and then we'll get back to this. Leave the area. Give me 5 minutes. I'll be right back to you, and go compose yourself. And because you do a lot of damage when you get emotional, especially if you're the boss or the parent or the person who's in charge. And you do so much damage sometimes that with customers or even aspiring young leaders you have, that they don't ever want to really communicate with you anymore, which is to your disadvantage. So yeah, I have the ability to get really upset, but I've learned not to do it, and just continue knowing all day long, every day, stuff's coming up that you don't know about, and you thought everything was fine, and then this happened, and it ruins your day, because every day, part of the day gets ruined by somebody doing something. Could be just a driver on the street. It could be, who knows? Nobody answering the phone at the place you're calling. They don't call you back. I just called. My doctor was supposed to call me back because I'm going to France, and they didn't call yesterday. And I called, and I was very polite to the lady and told her, I'm going to my daughter's wedding. I don't really want to die before I get there. And she laughed, and we had a good fun con. And she said, "Well, I took care of it all. They've got it now. He's out today, but they'll be back to you." I know she went out of her way to make sure that, because I didn't yell and scream at her, and which a lot of people do today. You see it every day, and that's from anxiety and worry and stress. And we've got to manage that, because we are the ones who get hurt when we do it. They do too, whoever you're arguing with, but take care of yourself. And yeah. And people are stressed when they come to see you sometimes. Oh gosh, I'm going in to see Lee. Oh my God. And you want to send the message so that if they leave after having a conversation with them, they go out in the wall and say, he was great, no problem. He listened. That's what you want. And then you'll get more feedback from your teams about what's really going on, because they'll know that you're not going to go crazy. And so that's what you got to think about. But you are the problem. So even if it's a different problem, you can become the problem. You want to become the solution.
Lee, you've talked in the past about how important it is to have a safe workplace. Now, that doesn't just mean physical safety, although that is very important. But when we talk about a safe workplace today, we're also talking about emotional safety. That I know I can be in work at work, and Lee is just not going to mentally and verbally beat me up today. And I think this goes with that. Like I know Lee's always going to be calm and reasonable. That's one day. And then if you don't know that, you kind of
No.
feel unsafe coming into work.
And I think that's a project that every business out there in the world and parents should be thinking about. Are you working on creating a culture of psychological safety where, I don't care who it is in your organization, would not have any fear of speaking up about anything? Anything. It's just the way it is. Psychological safety. And that's the reason people don't do that in businesses. And because the leadership does not appreciate it, or have not given you permission psychologically to do it. So when you go, I told a group the other day, they asked this question. I said, you have to create a culture that is psychologically safe. And that takes a long time. You got to get with it right now. And every one of your leaders has got to know they've got to behave and they got to be respectful and they got to listen to their people and they got to tell people every day, I want to hear you. And they can't overreact because you're building that culture where one day everybody just gives you their best ideas. And that does not happen today. Very many places. It can with small businesses, maybe if you got a great person there, but it should be what everybody's striving for because that's where the real productivity is when everybody is helping you run the business and believes that their opinion matters and that you would want to hear it. So psychological safety, physical safety, both of those are important. Yeah.
I'm going to move to the second point in this two-part question. How do you curb your emotions when things happen at home and now you have to go to work? And how do you not take a bad day at work home? So that goes both ways. If you have something bad happens at home, how do you not take that to work? If you have a bad day at work, how do you not take that home?
I think I'd back up and say, how bad? I mean, if your wife's hit you over the head with a skillet, that may be one thing, but if it's just the same thing, you've got to start to understand the triggers that cause you to have these uh, upset emotional discussions with your children or with your wife. We know what they are. And you same thing. I've done that myself. I mean, Priscilla, I we don't argue hardly at all anymore because I just okay, let me figure this out. Even if I don't want to learn more about what she's talking about, I just stay calm and quiet. I don't use one of my sarcastic comments. And you gotta challenge yourself to do that. Or when your kids don't clean their room, kids don't clean their room. So you got to go in and talk to them, say, okay, guys, I'm going to be back in 30 minutes, and then they'll do it. But when you say, today, I want you to clean your room when you leave in the morning, you come on, they won't be clean because they know you're gone. They figure out something else. So you've got to have a plan to start to build new habits. And even with our grandson here, Tristan, I'll tell him clean up his room or put things away because housekeepers are coming to clean or not. And he does. 5 minutes later, he doesn't remember. That's not something he wants to remember. And so I'll tell him, do it. I'm going to check it in a few minutes. And then they do it. I mean, so you just got to get a plan on how to overcome, say, there's things that trigger you with your children. They trigger you with your in-laws. They trigger you with your wife. And you know what they are already. And usually we get triggered because we're guilty and we're getting called on it. And we want to gaslight them and we want to go defend ourselves. Just say, Priscilla gets on me because I don't tie the Cheeto bag properly and they get stale. She gave, so I do now. I do it properly. And then I tell her, see, I did it. And I remember just it's amazing the little things that get people crazy. It's like, you know, put your shoes away and when you know people really well, you're more apt to be maybe a little too truthful. And so you got to work on that. Would you want to be talked to that way? Uh, and that's what happens. We don't like I told Priscilla, it's not what you tell me, it's the voice you use. So, and often she says, well, I've told you 400 times. I said, oh, okay. It's just this, but stay calm. And it's not always easy. I mean, I want to win too, these arguments, but I've learned to let them go. They're not worth winning, by the way. They're not worth winning. You're either teaching or you're losing. So you got to teach your kids. Don't somebody said when you have a baby, don't start telling them no every time they go to the coffee table and start picking stuff up. Just redirect them, turn them around because they don't know where I mean, you know, most kids grow up hearing the word no, and they say it the rest of their life because we used it too much. Just we've got to be much more effective in how we affect people. So And at home, and at home's where it starts. It's true. You have a bad morning at home or a bad day at home or an argument and you're not getting along, it'll affect it'll affect you on the drive to work. It'll affect you at work. Uh, and if it continues, it could affect your health, your mental health, being upset. The next thing, why do people get divorces? Well, I don't know. Something happened. And it's probably one or the other, just not listening, not hearing, not caring, and thinking it was somebody else's fault. And next thing you know, it's usually the woman who leaves, by the way. So, all communication. I mean, you think about it in wartime, in politics. I mean, it's just you kind of get to where you don't believe anything. You got to check for yourself and make sure that's really true. So, yeah, you gotta you gotta manage yourself. Don't worry about everybody else. Worry about you, and then other people will adjust to seeing, wow, don't worry about everybody else. Just, I always say, it's enough work every day to manage yourself and your emotions and your reactions. And it is. It's little things can. Maybe it's something that happened to me when I was in fourth grade. And I get mad at you over it. I don't even know why. Because we're all wired differently, and we have to be aware of ourselves, what our triggers are, what upsets us, and put a control in place of thinking about it a lot. Next time this happens, I'm not going to say anything. That's how I got in good graces with Priscilla. Next time she says something, I'm not going to say anything. Now it just goes better. And I've just gotten used to, okay, it's not worth it. It's not worth winning this argument. For what? What do I get? Nothing. It's just the ego problem. Deep down, we're wired with insecurities. So yeah, know what they are and control them. I guess would be control them. Yeah.
Many episodes ago, it's been so long I don't even remember when you talked about how when a customer or guest is upset, it's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
So don't take it personal. I think in the workplace, it's the same thing to
Yeah.
blend both parts of this question. If emotions get hot at the workplace, there's a very good chance it's got nothing to do with you, nothing to do with the work. It could be a bad day at home. You don't know what happened. So
Exactly.
Lee explained, keep calm, keep it in check, only deal with yourself because whatever's going on probably isn't about you. That
Yeah.
could be the key to managing emotions in the workplace.
And we've said it before, everybody's got problems you don't know about and worries and stress, and you don't know what's going on in people's lives because everybody puts on a good face. And just, I guarantee you, no matter who you're dealing with has issues they're worried about, and they may not act appropriately when they're in that situation of worrying about something. So
Yeah.
don't add more distress to people's lives. They have enough already. Yeah.
Well, in case you're having distress in your life, one way to get over that is a vacation. And you can handle that properly by calling our friends at Magical Vacation Planner because they'll remove all the distress and stress from planning a vacation. You can reach them at 407-442-2694. Let them know Lee Cockerell thinks you need a vacation. Leah and I mentioned there, they'll remove the distress and stress. I learned from you the difference that distress is when things are out of control, that stress itself isn't always a bad thing. It's distress that causes the problems.
Yeah, when you're out of control and it's one thing after another and you're not dealing with it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Well, if you want to see what Lee and I are up to, a good place to do that is cockerellstore.com. That's where all the products, all the podcasts can be found there. Until next week, go out and create magic for others.